Okay, now that I've got everything all soldered up, all my leads are kind of laying in the direction I want them to go. Now I've got to cover up all the soldered ends. Again, not using shrink wrap. Don't really want to apply any heat to the insulation on these wires. So this is just simple insulation tubing. I was given this, so where you get it and what it's actually called, I don't know. Just simply sliding it over the soldered end. I already did this one because it's going to overlap the one I'm doing right now, and that way I can tie it down a second time. This is just simply some twine, and I go ahead and double it up. So it's a little tricky because it does slide around. When you do this first knot, if you'll do it twice, it holds a lot better. And then, so I'm just gonna very slowly tie that down, make sure that's where I want it. There you go, tie down. Go ahead and put a knot on that side. And done. And I'll just slowly rotate around and just keep doing this. So I'll do that one, and then when that one goes down, depending, I may be able to tie that one twice. Be just repeating that process. Again, you're trying to make it look as pretty as you want it to look. And once it's all done, and you're going to tie it down even more. So this isn't necessarily that critical as getting it too terribly pretty. Now I'm ready to bind all this together. Started off with 6 feet of twine, a good 6 feet, 6 to 7. Just started a good knot on one of the mains, 2 of the mains, good anchor point. And then basically what you're doing is just slowly going around it one slot at a time. Go through, pull it all the way through. It's a lot of line. And then when you have this loop, what I do is I make a counterclockwise twist in it, and then I bring the twine up from the bottom of it. So it's a little hassle at first when it's so long, and then just simply pull that tight. Just trying to get all that bound together. Rotate it a little bit. Go through my next slot, run it all through, wind up with my loop, counterclockwise, bring it up from the bottom. And then pull tight. Kind of rock it back and forth, let that knot, because that twine will kind of help hold itself. And then usually, now this is the very center of the auxiliary start winding, right exactly where the bolt is. I'm going to skip that one. These are real thin. There's no real reason to tie those together right there. So I'm just going to skip over to the next slot. So pull it through. Got my little loop, counterclockwise, pull it in from the bottom. If I can find it. Snug it all down, so it's starting to look like that. And then I'm just going to continue this pattern all the way around. So go through, pull it up and over, counterclockwise loop, and then pull it up from the bottom. So the first side is all wrapped up. Made the mistake of when I started and I tied that initial knot, leave that extra string on there. That's what you're going to tie it off with when you get all the way to the other end. Forgot about that and just naturally clipped it off and had to improvise my end tie off. This is what I talked about earlier. I was smart enough this time to leave the other end of the line on it when I made my first initial knot. Gone all the way around, trim that off, get all my excess out of the way, and then just knot that off. Trim that, and that is now done as well. This next step, probably make any grown man cry. Stators, when you hear guys taking them out, be so careful with them. They're so fragile, they're delicate. This next step is where we just got to smush it. This is too much wire sticking out, so we've got to compress it down. I'm going to start by, trying to flare this out of the rotor channel, and then using a couple pieces of wood. I'm using my body weight, one piece of wood on the bottom, one on top, and just smush it down. Kind of do it slowly. Keep flaring it out. That way the rotor can get in there easily, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I am down on my hands and knees for this because I want to get up and over it, kind of like doing CPR. I want to use as much of my body weight as possible. Again, I've already kind of flared this out. That way, hopefully, as I push down, it'll squish out. I'm not going to go crazy with it right off the bat. I'll just go nice and slow. I did check for continuity before I do this. Everything's still good. If I had a carpenter's vise, I would use it. I do have a regular bench vise, but I don't do that many of these. I really don't want to have to build a contraption to squish them. I did this before on the last one I did, and it worked just fine. So just trying to stay up and over it as much as possible, and just using my body weight, smush it down a little bit. As you can see, it's kind of flattening the tops. A little squared off, a little more squared off now. Again, just kind of keep that flared out. So this is the odd part of stators, where you're kind of abusing them versus treating them like a baby. So that's compressed a little bit more. Just kind of checking it. Rotor can get in it easily. Okay, after smushing it with my body weight, I did wind up taking a rubber mallet and tapping it a little bit lightly, just to get it to where I wanted it. As you can see, it's nice and flattened out. Will fit into the motor housing. Front cover will go on it just fine. My next step now is I'm just going to put painter's tape on the outside and the inside, and then spray paint it all black, and this thing will be done.